Gen 1 Mewtwo was the single most broken Pokemon in its original generation in the history of the franchise. It had the best stats, the best typing, and it had access to one of the best move pools in the entire game, which meant that it was basically an unstoppable force. So it's kind of interesting to think that the devs over there at Game Freak might have made this Pokemon even more broken in Generation 2. Because if you took that Gen 1 Mewtwo and traded it up to a Gen 2 cartridge, you would not only get access to a Pokemon that is ranked first out of all 251 with a base stat total of 680. And yes, I know Lugia and Ho-Oh technically match it in that total, but Mewtwo still stands head and shoulders ahead of them. It has access to a much more diverse move pool, it has far fewer type weaknesses, it has that massive 154 special attack stat to go together with 130 base speed, 110 base attack, 106 base HP. So what, its worst stats are 90 base and its defenses? That's really not too bad for a Pokemon. But what makes the Gen 1 trade-up Mewtwo even more broken is that it can boast one thing that no other Psychic type can in Generation 2. Access to the move Psychic from the very beginning of the game. It's pretty simple. In Gen 1, all you have to do is the trainer fly glitch, which is pretty easy to set up, and you can get access to a level 5 Mewtwo that has a starting moveset of Psychic, Disable, Confusion, and Swift. And while Disable, Confusion, and Swift are nothing to write home about, Psychic just on its own could make this Mewtwo completely busted in Gen 2. And when there are things that resist Psychic, it gets access to Shadow Ball, Dynamic Punch, Hidden Power Dark, all of the elemental punches, return. Like, what more could you want? Because even that 110 base attack is on par with Pokemon like Snorlax or Arcanine, so it's not like it's a slouch when it comes to dealing physical damage either. So the real question in this one is, does Mewtwo even need the Bright Powder? Does it need any held item to completely beat the game? Well, let's get into it and find out with our Bright Powder Mewtwo. So today, as we step into Professor Elm's lab, he's going to give us a little gift from Professor Oak, the strongest Gen 1 Pokemon with a completely OP moveset. So we'll pick up our Mewtwo inside of the Cyndaquil ball. That way we'll be up against a Feraligatr line. It will get access to Bite at least at some point, but we can see our moveset here with Psychic, Disable, Swift, and Confusion could be completely overpowered. So I'm just gonna start making my way through this first part of the game as we finish out our 4-part series on these Bright Powder Pokemon. Honestly, Mewtwo's the only one that I honestly don't think would have needed this item. It's just so completely OP just on its own that the Bright Powder might not actually be a factor in this at all. Still, we will be restricting ourselves to only the Bright Powder for the entire run. We will, however, also be running on max DVs in this one, and that's where things could get really silly. We can already see our stats are much higher than any other level 5 Pokemon, and so as we get to the Rival 1 fight, I honestly don't think he's actually going to be that much of a challenge, but let's see how strong this Psychic actually turns out to be. And clearly he was trying to imitate Daddy by getting the Mewtwo out of the lab, but unfortunately we got it instead, so he sends out Totodile. And as we use our first Psychic here, we can see it nearly one-shots. We just missed the range. Swift will knock it out the next turn, but the rival, clearly, he's not good enough to handle this Mewtwo. And that may be just the story of the early game. Psychic's probably going to destroy everything, but we'll just have to see as we get to Honest Abe here. I believe in the Minimum Battle series, we did use the berry there to get through. So we've got to name our rival first though, and I'm just going to give him a very simple name. Let's name him Not RBY. And with that, we can now move on in the game, and let's just make our way to the Faulkner gym and see how it goes. So first up, of course, we've got to take on Honest Abe. He's going to be quite a few levels ahead of us because we're in that slow level up group here. We are only at level 6. Still, we outspeed. Psychic does massive damage. Peck does nothing. So we get a super easy victory. We're going to stunt on Rod as well. And let's make our way to Faulkner. Now, who knows, maybe Mud Slap strats could get him through, but he's not actually going to use the move. We just go Psychic here, one-shotting against that Pidgey, getting the level 8, and now Psychic on the Pidgeotto with a critical hit gets a one-hitter, so we make easy work of the first gym, showing that Psychic is just way too strong for this section of the game. Now, we do get access to Mud Slap here. We could use that at some point if we need to go for some accuracy strats, but I'm honestly not sure we're going to need it in this one, which is a pretty big departure on minimum battles compared to the legendary birds that we've already done here. This might just be one where we can just go all out attack and basically win. We'll have to see though. There could be a situation where maybe, just maybe, not being able to use a healing berry affects us, or maybe we just don't quite get the luck to get through a tough fight. We'll just have to see as we go through. Here, however, I don't think we're going to have any issues in the Slowpoke well against these rockets, so let's just make our way straight to Jamesy Proton at the end, where I think we're going to completely stunt on him. But let's just verify that that is in fact the case before we get to two theoretically kind of tough fights with Bugsy and the rival, though I think the rival is going to be significantly easier in this one. So sure enough, we make it to Jamesy Proton at the end. He's going to lead off with his coughing, hoping to get this Mewtwo for his boss Giovanni, but we're just going to use a single Psychic and destroy him, getting to level 11. Now, we could learn the move Barrier here. I'm going to learn it over Disable. Gen 2 Disable is obviously better than Gen 1 Disable, but still not that great. Maybe Barrier comes in handy somewhere, so let's just go ahead and use it. And now Kurt's going to suddenly take us back upstairs where we can go and fight against Bugsy's entire gym. I think we just stunned on the randos here, so let's get straight to Bugsy himself. So Bugsy attempt number 1, we have basically one or two shot everything up to this point, and against this Metapod, it's more of the same. Out comes this Scyther. It is faster than us, but it misses the first Fury Cutter. That might have been the Bright Powder right there. Psychic looks like a 3-hit KO. We take pretty decent damage from Fury Cutter, and we managed the 3-hit KO, but if not for that miss, we might have actually lost there. Still, the Kakuna comes out last, and that's an easy 1-hit KO victory, so we get to level 14 as we beat Bugsy on the first attempt, but that might have actually been a potential loss for this Pokemon that we managed to survive thanks to one miss. So the Bright Powder at least put in a little bit of work there. Now we have to see if it's the same on the rival, or is he just much easier? I mean, 2 of his Pokemon are weak to Psychic, so I think this is going to be pretty simple to get through. Of course, he leads off with the Ghastly. We'll just go for even Confusion here. It gets the one-shot. Out next comes the Zubat. We can go Confusion again, one-shotting that Pokemon. Croconaw comes out last. Let's go Psychic, and we get a critical hit one-shot. So Rival 2 turns out to be a complete non-factor in this. And now we can make our way up to Whitney. Now, Whitney could potentially be hard. She can do a lot of physical damage to us, and our defenses aren't that great relative to our other stats. Maybe if rollout builds up or we get a bad metronome, we could actually lose this fight. So I'm going to make sure to just follow my standard minimum battles route here. I'm going to go into the underground, fight the randos down there, get the coin case, get my HM Pokemon. But then there's nothing else to do but to get to Whitney and just see if we can manage the victory. So it's worth noting that this is not the minimum battles series, so I'm going to be a little more liberal about getting access to TMs, especially replaceable TMs like the elemental punches. We're going to be buying a lot of these as we go through this run so that we can just swap them in and out anytime that we need them. I think that's the best strategy here, since there could be some spots where we want to learn Fire Punch, then we want to learn Ice Punch, then we want to learn Thunder Punch, so we'll just keep them all in the bag. But for now, I'm going to learn immediately a couple of these moves. I think the best two to learn are Fire Punch and Thunder Punch. They're going to be super effective against a lot of opponents that are upcoming. We're looking especially ahead at rival number 3, at Jasmine, and at Price. And that should allow us to get through most of this next section pretty easily, but let's just see if that's actually the case here. So I replaced Confusion and Swift with those moves, so we're now running Psychic Barrier, Thunder Punch, and Fire Punch as we get ready to go into the underground. These moves will be super effective down here, so we should have an easy time. Let's make our way straight to Whitney. So it's time for Whitney attempt number 1. Let's see if she builds up the rollout enough or not here. She leads off with the Clefairy, of course. We'll just go Psychic on this one. It's going to be a 2-hit KO, but she misses Smoke Screen from the Metronome, allowing us to get through with no damage taken from the first Pokemon. Miltank comes out next. We are faster and use Psychic, doing about half. Rollout didn't do enough, so we get an easy victory on the first attempt on Whitney, getting to level 17, and now she doesn't want to give us the badge because she knows we're cheating, but we don't even care. Let's go ahead and get it and move on to the Morty section, and we should have a pretty easy time here thanks to these elemental punches and Psychic, but who knows, maybe something poses a little bit of a challenge. Here against the last of the Kimono Girls, we will fight her Umbreon, where we don't have anything better than the elemental punches here, but we do significantly more damage than Pursuit, so we get through super easy right here, and we can move on now to the rival. And honestly, I think all of our moves are perfect here. We've basically got something super effective against every single one of his Pokemon, so let's find out if it's just a one-hit KO fest here, or does Rival 3 actually have some tricks up his sleeve. Rival 3 leads off with the Haunter, of course. We'll just go Psychic here, getting an easy one-hit KO. The Croconaw comes out next. We go Thunder Punch here. We don't get the one-hitter, and it misses a bite thanks to the Bright Powder, so we get a very easy victory. 2 hits there on that Pokemon. Magnemite comes out. We can just go for the Fire Punch to destroy it, and that brings out the final Zubat, where we just go Psychic, getting the victory. So the rival was a complete non-factor. We can fall down and just scare away these 3 legendary beasts with our beastly Mewtwo. They're going to just run away and never show up again for the rest of the run. And with that, we can make our way into Morty's gym, probably one of the easiest gyms in the entire challenge. We might not even need to use Psychic against these random Ghastlies. We can just kind of stunt on them. But let's make our way to Morty himself. And while Morty claims to be super effective against Psychic with his ghost types, we're faster than everything here. Let's just go Psychic on the Ghastly. That's a one-hitter. Out next comes the Haunter. We can go Psychic and just destroy it. Now we've got the Gengar. We go Psychic, and this is a one-hit KO. Very, very easy. Next, that brings out the Haunter. Psychic will one-shot that Pokemon, giving us the insanely easy victory against Morty as we get access to Shadow Ball. That could be a useful TM in the future when we get to some Psychic-type Pokemon. We'll just have to see, but for now, it's time to move on. We're basically where we are in the Minimum Battle series, and in this case, I think we just take the most efficient routing through the game, which means go through the Lighthouse, then go to Chuck, then go back to Jasmine, and then we'll go take on Price and the Rocket Hideout. Often on Minimum Battles, you want to take on Price first because he's easier, but here, I don't think it's even going to matter. So here we make it to Chucky Boy's gym against the Black Belt Bros. Hitmonlee says, I have high special defense in this generation. It doesn't matter. It's a one-hit KO. Out next comes the Hitmonchan. I think it's going to be more of the same. We will just go Psychic, getting another one-hitter, so the randos aren't going to be an issue at all. Let's make our way to Chuck. Now Chuck's going to throw a boulder because he's so angry we got this Gen 1 Mewtwo, and as he leads off with Primeape, we're just going to go Psychic, getting an easy one-hit KO on that Pokemon. Poliwrath comes out, we'll just stick with Psychic here, and it is a one-hitter as well. So Chuck just never stood a chance. Man, this guy's so glad that he's not in Kanto and having to deal with Sabrina, I'll tell you that much. And with that easy victory, we can now move on in the game where we have gotten access to Dynamic Punch. Yet again, a TM you might not associate with Mewtwo, but that might actually be really useful in this challenge. So now we'll simply make our way back to Olivine. Let's go ahead and just check in on Jasmine, give her the secret potion. She's gonna think it makes her as strong as Mewtwo with that Steelix, but we're about to show her that it doesn't matter how strong Steelix gets, Mewtwo is the superior Pokemon. So here, Jasmine leads off with her Magnemite. And of course, there's no better play here than just to go Fire Punch. It gets the easy one-hit KO on that one. Fire Punch on the second Pokemon, also one hits, getting us to level 28. Out comes Steelix. We go Fire Punch, we do well over half. It hits the Iron Tail and did pretty decent damage, but we just knock it out the next turn. She didn't even try to Hyper Potion because she knew it was going to have no benefit for her, so we easily get the victory. And now we can just go stunt on a bunch of rockets. Obviously, Mewtwo's going to have no issue issues here. So let's just get straight to the final executives so that we can go beat up on Price, and then we can make our way to a real challenge. So as we get to the end of the Rocket Hideout, of course, the executive has a team that's pretty easy for us here. She's going to lead off with the Arbok. We can just go Psychic, getting the one-hit KO. Out next comes the Murkrow, but we just go Thunder Punch to destroy it. And that brings out the Gloom, where we can go anything, but I'll just go Fire Punch. Even without going our strongest move, we still one-shot there. And that was just super easy. It's basically what you'd expect. But really, on minimum battles, I'm kind of shocked that only Bugsy so far has actually posed some element of a challenge to us. Now, I am going to use Gyarados to knock out the Electrodes here to prevent getting more XP on my Mewtwo, just because, honestly, I want to get through the game with as little XP as possible and just see what actually happens at the end. Can we win without getting all the XP? I'm honestly just kind of interested to find out. But for now, it's time to make our way over to Price. He loves to punt in normal situations, but here where we've got Psychic and Fire Punch and Thunder Punch, I think we've got all the moves we need, so let's just completely destroy him. So here against the Seal, obviously the play is to go Thunder Punch. It's a one-hit KO, getting us to level 31. Dugong comes out next. It's going to be a two-hitter with the Thunder Punch, thanks to its higher special defense, but we still managed to get through. And now Piloswine, we go Fire Punch and just missed the one-hit KO range. It hits a Blizzard, but doesn't get a Freeze. That's really all we need. Even two Psychics is going to be enough to knock it out from full health. So Price not only completely loses that fight, but he also makes one of the biggest mistakes in Gen 2. He gives us that Glacier badge, increasing our special attack stat even more. Mewtwo might just be completely OP for the rest of the run. So we'll just get through this whole Radio Tower Rocket storyline. I don't expect any challenge here. So here we'll just get straight to the Marlboro Man at the top of the first part of the Radio Tower. He leads off with the Coughings. I had to manipulate my PP a little bit in order to just have Psychic here. We're just going to one-shot all of these Coughings, but I was disrespecting most of the trainers here by not even using Psychic on them because it really wasn't necessary. Here, even Wheezing just melts to a single Psychic though, so having this move, the only issue really is that it only has 10 PP. The Marlboro Man goes down nice and easy, and now we can make our way to rival number 4. Let's see if he actually poses any semblance of a challenge, or is he just going to be another pushover like rival 3? Obviously, the rival has been hanging around Team Rocket trying to figure out how his daddy got a Mewtwo in the anime. Unfortunately, the only Mewtwo he's going to see is the one that's about to destroy him. He leads off with the Golbat. We're going to go for the Psychic here and get an easy one-hit KO. We get to level 35 as Sneasel comes out. We'll just go Fire Punch to destroy that one. Out next comes Feraligatr. We've got the Thunder Punch. It's not a one-hitter. It hits Bite, but really didn't do that much, just 26 damage, so we two-shot. Out next comes the Magnemite. We have the Fire Punch to destroy that one. And then Haunter, more Psychic. Easy. So the rival goes down on the first attempt, barely doing any damage. We can now stunt on the rest of these trainers, but I am really interested to see how we do against the Houndoom trainer at the very end of this section. We've made it to the final executive at the top. He's going to lead off with the Houndour first. So our best move is Thunder Punch. We still manage the one-hit KO though. Houndoom comes out next. We go Thunder Punch, doing about half. Feint Attack did a lot, but we do manage to knock it out in 2. And that brings out the Coughing. We can even just Thunder Punch there in disrespect. And just like that, we have managed to complete the entire Rocket storyline very, very easily. So with that, it's on to Claire, our last gym leader, and we've got the Ice Punch. So I'm just going to throw that move on right now because I honestly think that is the best play to get through. We shouldn't need the Thunder Punch right here or Fire Punch. And we can obviously relearn both of those moves, so I'll just forget Fire Punch for now. Let's see how this actually goes as we get to the gym. And quick note from Teo from the future here, you may have noticed that the commentary here is a little bit different than my normal, and it's because I actually played through this entire run only to find out that I had not recorded any audio. The whole issue was an update on my PC, and I didn't catch it until I had already completed the entire run. So this is a rare video where I am actually doing commentary after I have run the entire challenge. Usually I do live commentary for these. So, you know, tell me in the comments if you prefer the post commentary, but for now, at least while I'm still part-time making Pokemon content, and while my baby boy is still really little, I'm basically going to be doing live commentary in most of my challenges because it's just about time efficiency. It's much harder to find an hour to play Pokemon when you've got a 1-year-old who's screaming at the top of his lungs some of the time. So I appreciate your guys' patience with it. But now as we get into the Dragon Gym, of course, Ice Punch will just destroy these random Dratinis. We can even go Psychic here. We don't even need to use Ice Punch to knock them out. So I think we're going to do pretty well until the gym leader. Kingdra might be the wall since it is neutrally affected at best by our moves, but we'll just have to see. So Claire attempt number 1, she leads off with the Dragonair. We're going to go for the Ice Punch here, getting an easy one-hit KO. Dragonair number 2 comes out, we destroy it, getting the level 41. Dragonair number 3, we beat it nice and easy, and we can see we're actually 1 level higher than Kingdra on minimum battles, and a critical hit Psychic just one-shots. So Claire's convinced that we have done something completely unreasonable here. We are clearly cheating in order to just one-shot all of her Pokemon, so she refuses the badge. We're gonna have to go talk to some old guys to remind her just how strong Gen 1 Mewtwo was. That's the thing, Claire, she's so young, she doesn't even remember Gen 1, whereas the real ones know that while yes, Gen 2 is an awesome generation with all of the improvements that it made on Gen 1, fight me RBY Pokemon challenges, Gen 1 Mewtwo is still the undisputed god tier Pokemon of the franchise. One of the things that actually lost me in later generations was when they tried to make other Pokemon stronger than Mewtwo. Maybe it's just me growing up in the old days of Pokemon, but this is Pokemon to me. Mewtwo is just undisputably overpowered compared to everything else. It is made to be the perfect Pokemon. So as these old guys examine the Mewtwo that we've got here and they realize, oh yes, this guy clearly knows his Gen 1 mechanics, which is why he has this one, they're going to tell Claire to hand over that badge immediately, lest she lose her street cred as a Pokemon player. And with that, she's gonna go warn Lance about us, but it might not be enough. Let's go ahead and get to rival number 5 here as we make our way over to Kanto. Now, before we go, I will get access to a bunch of TMs just in case we need them. We have so much money right now because I've been picking up items that we can buy several copies of all of the elemental punches and get returned, but we're gonna keep as much money as we can because in the post game, I think this money will actually be important to get some serious moveset upgrades. Still, I think we've got everything we need for now, so we're just gonna make our way over to the Pokemon League. We have to fight rival number 5 first. And who knows, maybe he actually poses a challenge now? He leads off with the Sneasel, and we can see I did not learn Fire Punch, so our best move here is Thunder Punch, which two-shots that Pokemon. We get to level 42 as Golbat comes out, Psychic will one-shot. That brings out the Magneton, which yet again, we didn't learn the move Fire Punch here. It's clearly a mistake, but we're gonna get an easy 2-hit KO on that Pokemon. Out next comes the Haunter. We can just one-shot with Psychic. Kadabra, we could basically do anything, but I guess I'll just Ice Punch. It's going to be a 2-hit KOs. It goes for Future Sight. And now on the Feraligatr, we go Psychic here just to see what it does. We get a Slash that didn't do that much, and we can just Thunder Punch it down from there. So super easy victory. Thunder Punch probably wasn't going to one-shot there, but hey, it's a perfectly good warm-up for the league. And with that, we might just be good enough to get through the first several of these Elite Four members. I'm just going to buy a few full restores here, but honestly, if we do struggle with Will at all, we could just throw on Shadow Ball and probably destroy him. We already have all the moves I think that we need in order to defeat Koga. Bruno should be a non-factor, so maybe we'll have some troubles with Karen. I think Ice Punch and Thunder Punch are just going to be enough to get through the final battle against Lance. So let's just see how this actually goes. We do have Sunny Day Solar Beam strats. We have Iron Tail. We've got tons of TMs that we could use. I just don't think we need to make that many changes to our moveset here. So let's get into the league and find out, starting with Willy Boy. Let's see if Big Willy style is enough to take down our Mewtwo, or are we going to just completely destroy him? He leads off with the Xatu here, where we can just go Thunder Punch or Ice Punch, and we manage the 1-hit KO with a Thunder Punch. So that's perfectly fine as we get to level 43. The second Xatu comes out and also gets wrecked. Now we've got the Jinx. And our best move here is Thunder Punch. We did not learn Fire Punch coming into this. Still, it looks like it's going to be a 3-hitter. We get a double slap. We nearly KO it, but then we get hit by Lovely Kiss. And now it's doing a lot of damage with Ice Punch and Double Slap. And are we going to wake up here? Oh no. We do get one miss, and we wake up and knock that Pokemon out. Out comes the Exeggutor. We can just go Ice Punch here, and that does get the one-hit KO. So finally, Slowbro, let's go for the Thunder Punch. We don't get the one-hitter, and Psychic ends us. Are you kidding me? Oh no. I mean, it clearly just came down to the sleep lasting so many turns, but maybe we should learn Fire Punch here in order to just take down that Jinx more easily, since we don't really have many better moves. I mean, Shadow Ball could be useful, but I think Fire Punch is just the simpler strategy for now. Let's save the Shadow Ball for later in case we need it. So I'm going to forget Ice Punch here to learn Fire Punch. Really, Ice Punch isn't as useful as the other elemental punches in this generation, so I think this is the correct play, but let's find out. So back to Willy Boy again after our first reset in this one. Thunder Punch one-shots against the first Xatu. Against the second Xatu, we also one-shot with the Thunder Punch. Now let's see what Fire Punch does to Jinx. And yeah, it's going to be a 2-hit KO with this move. If we had used this last time, we would have gotten through without a reset. Now Fire Punch is the same as Ice Punch against Exeggutor. That brings us back to Slowbro. We'll go for the Thunder Punch, and this time we get a critical hit one-shot. So we managed to win on the second attempt. We could learn Future Sight. We will not learn Future Sight. And now we're ready to move on. Honestly, that was our first reset, but I feel like if we had just gone in with a better strategy, basically Fire Punch, we would have won on the first attempt. So basically one reset due to user error and a Lovely Kiss. Really not too bad. Now let's see how we do against Koga though. So here again, we're still on minimum battles, but at level 44, Ariados goes down in a single hit to the Fire Punch. Fortress also gets Fire Punched and gets completely wrecked. That brings out the Muck. We can just go Psychic here, and that's going to be a one-hit KO. Venomoth comes out next. It's a Dragon type, but I'm still going to go for the Fire Punch here, getting a one-hitter on that Pokemon. Crobat finally comes out. We are at the same level, and we just one-shot with a Psychic. It's kind of interesting. We're actually at the same level as the Ace of Koga, coming here on minimum battles with a slow level up Pokemon, with no rare candies used up to this point in the run. So we're just going to have to see how Bruno goes, but I think he's a non-factor. Let's find out. Against the Hitmontop, we just go Psychic, getting the one-hit KO on that Pokemon, obviously. Out next comes the Onix. We can just go Psychic on this one as well because it has low special. The Machamp also is just going to get wrecked by a single Psychic. Hitmonlee comes out next, once again getting destroyed, and that brings out the Hitmonchan, where we just go Psychic and easily win. Bruno has been reduced back to Gen 1 Bruno thanks to our Gen 1 Mewtwo. But now we might actually have a wall in front of us. This is Karen. She has the dark types. We need a move that will get us through Umbreon and a move that will get us through Houndoom. Murkrow, we can just take out with a Thunder Punch, and obviously against the Gengar and the Vileplume, we can just go for Psychic, and we should be able to get the one-hit KOs on them. I'm also pretty sure we outspeed everything because we've got that 130 base speed. So honestly, the question is just, do we have a better move for the dark types? And I think the answer is yes. While it is a little bit YOLO, I think our best play is to go for Dynamic Punch here. And realistically, we can learn this move over any of the elemental punches because we could just relearn them later. And yes, it's a 50% accurate move, but if we land a couple Dynamic Punches, I'm pretty sure we destroy the Umbreon and the Houndoom, especially Houndoom with its lower defense stat. It's one of those things that I really noticed as I was going through my full game challenge with Houndoom, is just how low its defense actually is. So let's forget Fire Punch here in order to learn the move Dynamic Punch. I'll keep Barrier for now in case it's useful. Let's see how this fight actually goes. First up on the Umbreon, we're going to go Dynamic Punch. It hits, and we confuse it. It hits itself in confusion, and now Thunder Punch will just end that Pokemon. We get to level 46 as Murkrow comes out. We can just Thunder Punch. Easy victory on that one. Houndoom is out next. We missed the first Dynamic Punch. Crunch did a lot of damage, but now we hit the Dynamic Punch in one shot there. That brings out the Gengar, where we can just go Psychic, and with that Pokemon going down in a single hit, Vileplume comes out. Psychic will destroy it. So we beat Karen on the first attempt. Oh, the Dynamic Punch strats are overpowered there. Clearly, that will be a strategy in the main Minimum Battles series. But now that we've gotten this far, I think we just learned Ice Punch. And honestly, we can forget the move Psychic. We don't need it for this fight, and we can just relearn it via TM once we get to Saffron City, which is going to be really quick here. So let's just go ahead and get into this fight against Lance with Ice Punch, with Thunder Punch. I think we have all the moves that we need here. I'm going to keep Dynamic Punch for a very particular fight later on in the run. So I think this is the best strategy. Comment down below if you think I'm making a mistake, but let's get into this Lancey boy fight. Of course, he leads off with the Gyarados. We're going to go Thunder Punch right here, getting the easy one-hit KO. We get to level 47. Dragonite comes out. We can now just go for Ice Punch, getting a one-hitter on that Pokemon as well. Second Dragonite comes out. We can just stick with the Ice Punch, wrecking that Pokemon. Aerodactyl now can get Ice Punch or Thunder Punch. We'll just stick with Ice Punch here, getting the victory. For Charizard, we'll switch into the Thunder Punch since it's super effective. It's going to be a two-hitter, but Flamethrower didn't do that much, only about a quarter, so we knock it out in a single hit. That brings out the final Dragonite. We go Ice Punch, securing the victory against the Elite Four on Minimum Battles with our Mewtwo, with one reset in this entire section of the game. Like, I know it shows multiple resets over there, but most of those are just from routing around spinners. Like, in battle, there was only one reset in this entire section of the game. Honestly, if we had just gotten a little bit better luck, we could have gotten through with no resets. So I think it just shows Mewtwo is completely overpowered, especially when it has Psychic for the entirety of Johto. This is just broken. So, while yes, maybe the Bright Powder came into play a little bit when we were up against Bugsy, I mean, he did have a 5% chance to miss with Fury Cutter anyway, so I think it's pretty legit. And now we're ready to move on to the Kanto section. The real question is, as the levels really ramp up, especially around blue and red, are we going to be able to keep up? Are we going to have to slam rare candies, or are we ever going to hit a wall? Well, as we get back to New Bark Town, we're going to go talk to Professor Elm, of course, to get our SS ticket, but we're also going to run around and get a lot of items that we might need, and we're going to sell a lot of things for money. This is actually going to be a key to my strategy because I want to make a little bit of a moveset improvement before we go to Kanto. We'll also, of course, make the point of getting through the Sprout Tower with Gyarados to knock everything out, just so that we can get access to Flash and use it. It's just so much easier to route in the dark when you have Flash. And as we get to Sage Lee, of course, we can just show him a Gyarados that is like 23 levels higher than him, and Dragon Rage just one-shots all of his Pokemon. So this is a perfectly easy strat for just getting through here and getting Flash. Somebody asked previously, when does the rival stop popping up here? It's after you beat rival number 5. Once you beat rival 5, he'll no longer be here, but if you come here before rival 5, he still fights Sage Lee. Now, this is the part of our strategy where I want to learn new moves, and I've gotten 8,000 coins. We had enough money just from selling items, and we can talk to Billy Boy's daddy to get access to Thunderbolt and Ice Beam. We're going to do the classic Gen 1 Bolt Beam strat as our way to get through the Kanto section. We get one move on a Saturday, and then I just reset the time so that we come back on a Wednesday to see him again. And with that, we can get access to our 2 powered up moves, which I've taught over Thunder Punch and Ice Punch. So now we have Ice Beam, Barrier, Thunderbolt, and Dynamic Punch as we go to Kanto. Now, honestly, I don't expect any real issues as we make our way to blue and red. We should just stunt on all of the other gym leaders, but let's find out if that's actually the case or not with this Mewtwo, especially because we can't go for things like leftovers or 4 special berries in order to heal status. We might have a wall somewhere, but our moveset matches up so well against the Kanto gym leaders that I don't think we're going to have much issue. In fact, even before going to get Psychic, I'm just going to come in and meet the trash man here. Lieutenant Surge no longer makes you dig through his trash because he doesn't want the game to tell you that there's nothing but trash here. So Lieutenant Surge attempt number 1 against the Raichu, I'm just going to go Ice Beam here. We get just barely not a one-hit KO. I'll Thunderbolt it down from there. Electrode comes out next. We can just go for Ice Beam and destroy it. That brings out the Magneton. I guess we go Dynamic Punch here. We miss and it double teams, and then it hits the Zap Cannon to get the Paralysis. But after that, we do hit a Dynamic Punch, getting a one-hit KO. That brings out the second Electrode. It goes double team as well, but we hit the Ice Beam, getting the easy victory. And now against Electabuzz, it goes Thunder. We go Ice Beam. We freeze it. And just like that, we get a very easy victory against Lieutenant Surge. Even when he tried to cheese with the double team and the Zap Cannon, turns out that just like in Gen 1, there's nothing but trash in his gym. And with that, we can now make our way up to Sabrina, which should be a pretty easy fight. We're a Psychic type. We could learn the move Shadow Ball here in order to have something super effective, which would probably be enough to one-shot all of her Pokemon. So I'm going to test out that strategy here, and let's just see how Sabrina goes. So Sabrina attempt number 1, and oh yeah, I didn't heal coming into the fight, so we're still paralyzed. Psychic does decent damage. We're trying to use Shadow Ball here. We do one-shot the Espeon. That brings out the Mr. Mime next. It goes Barrier and Reflect, which is really good strategy. And now we're just not dealing enough damage, and Psychic takes us down. Obviously, that's just another player error though. Like, we could have gotten through that on the first attempt, I think, if we had just fully healed. So I'm going to pop out and get the heal on and come back here. So Sabrina round 2, let's just see how she goes now. Of course, we're going to stick with the Shadow Ball on this one. We one-shot against the Espeon after outspeeding. Mr. Mime comes out, but we just Shadow Ball and wreck it. And that brings out the Alakazam, where we go Shadow Ball and completely destroy that Pokemon. We get to level 50 as we defeat Sabrina, and now I think it's time to just go stunt on Erica. We've got the Ice Beam. It should be super easy, but let's just see how that actually goes over there. Then I think we go to Misty, then Brock. Then we don't really have anything great for Blaine, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think we're going to get through pretty easily. Janine is obviously going to be a joke. So that really only leaves Blue as a potential wall for this Pokemon. At least that's what I think at this point. It's also worth noting that we might not ever learn Psychic. We might not need it. Our other moves might just be enough to get through this. So Erica's up first. Let's go ahead and take on her Tangela here, where we'll just go Ice Beam, getting a one-hit KO. That brings out the Jump Bluff, where we can just stick with the same strategy, one-shotting that Pokemon. We get to level 51 as Blossom comes out and gets completely destroyed, and that brings out the Victory Bell. Ice Beam will wreck that Pokemon. Erica never stood a chance. So with that, let's just make our way up north to Misty, but I will take care of this whole machine part quest first. And with the machine part successfully retrieved and delivered, we can just fight a bunch of randos to make our way over to Misty to break up her date and get her back to the gym. And just as night falls and Misty was ready to enjoy a romantic evening, we break up her date and send her back to work. So Misty attempt number 1, the Golduck comes out first. We go Thunderbolt, one-shotting that Pokemon. Out comes the Starmie. We can go Shadow Ball or Thunderbolt here. I'm just going Thunderbolt since we have high special attack. One-shotting, getting to level 53. Quagsire is only neutrally affected by the Ice Beam here. Still, even that is enough to one-shot. And that brings out the Lapras. We can go back to Thunderbolt, getting another one-hit KO. And just like that, Misty goes down on the first attempt with no issues. So now I'm just going to make my way over to Brocky Boy and let's see how he actually goes, but we're just completely stunting on this part of the game. And honestly, I don't think any of these gym leaders want to see Mewtwo. They have PTSD from the original Gen 1 games, when this Pokemon would just come in and destroy everything in Kanto. But we will just go ahead and open up Viridian City first so that we don't have to route past this one bug catcher with his Beedrills, who for whatever reason just always seems to want to fight us no matter how strong we are, this is where I get so many of my resets, is on spinners like this that are just impossible to route around at 4 or 5 times speed, whatever it is that I play at. So you have to reset a bunch of times just to get past those trainers. But with that done, we can now get into Brocky Boy's gym, where of course we've got to fight the Light Years Junior trainer, who's not going to realize that he's light years away from actually being able to take on a Mewtwo. So while he's been sitting here for years with his Sandshrew until it became a Sandslash, it really doesn't matter. We just one-shot that Pokemon, and now it's time to take on Brocky Boy himself. Brock leads off with his Graveler. We just Ice Beam to one-hit KO it. Out next comes the Amistar, and we've got the Thunderbolt to just destroy that Pokemon. That brings out the Rhyhorn, back to Ice Beam for a one-hitter, and Onix comes out next. One more Ice Beam destroys it. Finally, we've got Kabutops, which can't do anything. Thunderbolt just ends it. So Brock was a complete non-factor as expected. Now it's time to make our way down to Blaney Boy, where clearly what actually happened to Cinnabar Island is that Mewtwo from Gen 1 visited it, which caused the entire island to be destroyed. And while Blue's down here investigating ways to take care of our Mewtwo once we get to his gym, I think it's all for naught. He can just go talk to Grandpa all he wants and like fly in the sky like Superman. It doesn't matter. Let's make our way straight to Blaney Boy here. We don't have any super effective moves, but it might not actually matter in this section of the game. So Blaine's been hiding in a cave from our Mewtwo for like years now because he knows that it's the end of civilization as he knows it. He's going to lead off with the Magcargo. I think our best play here is to go for something like Dynamic Punch, but who knows, we might miss. Still, we managed to hit and get the one-hit KO. Out comes the Magmar. I guess we'll just go for anything. Ice Beam is resisted, but even then it looks like a 2-hit KO, so we get an easy victory on that one. We'll stick with Thunderbolt for the Rapidash here, and that's going to be a 2-hitter, but it just goes Fury Attack. Good job, Blaney Boy. And now he max potions, even though it just has no effect on the battle. We get the easy victory here at level 54. Still on minimum battles, still no rare candies used with our Mewtwo. We're ready to go to Janine. She's obviously going to be an easy fight, but who knows? Maybe she confuses us and uses Toxic and we lose somehow. So she's going to lead off with her Crobat. We just can go Ice Beam on this one. It's going to be an easy one-hit KO. She sends out Ariados next. We'll just stick with Ice Beam on it since it just goes down in a single hit anyway. We can do the same on Weezing. We don't even need super effective moves here. Venomoth is a dragon type, so I will use the Ice Beam there as well. We could level up and learn Mist. We will not learn Mist at level 56. And that brings out the final Weezing, which just gets completely wrecked. So just like that, we've gotten through 7 of the Kanto gyms with no difficulties whatsoever. One reset on Sabrina just due to not healing paralysis. Otherwise, that would have been a 100% guaranteed victory. But now it's time to take on Blue, the first trainer who might actually have a team good enough to take us down. Still, I think we have enough moves to get through all these Pokemon without any real issues. So let's just get into this one and find out how it actually goes. So Blue leads off with his Pidgeot. I'm just going to go Ice Beam here, and we do in fact get the one-hit KO on that Pokemon. Alakazam comes out next. We go Shadow Ball, completely destroying it. Rhydon comes out. We've got the Ice Beam, so we'll just use that to one-hit KO once again. Now the Gyarados, we know Thunderbolt. Easy victory on that Pokemon. We get to level 56 as Exeggutor comes out. We'll just go for Ice Beam here, I guess, because it has lower special and we've got higher special. That gets the easy victory. And finally, Arcanine. We can just go for anything here. I'm just going to go for Thunderbolt, and we get nearly a one-hit KO as the Flamethrower hits us, but it really didn't do that much. He can full restore here, but it's going to just be a 2-hit KO on this Pokemon. Even without the crit, it doesn't matter. You get through in 2 hits and he can't do anything back. So Blue goes down to a Mewtwo, granted on max DVs, but with no rare candies used, just using kind of standard moves. We didn't even go for Psychic there. We're going to come kind of talk to Red's mom and be like, hey, we're about to go beat up on your son here, but she might have something to say about that because Red, of course, does have the strongest team in Johto. The level difference is going to be huge there. I think some of his Pokemon are even like 20 levels higher than us. So let's see how this goes. Are we going to be able to get through? Are we going to have to drop all the rare candies? Is this where it's going to become just completely luck based because we're in that slow level up group and we're too under leveled to take him on? I'm honestly not sure, but what I really want to see here is what is the lowest level that a Mewtwo can beat Red legitimately. So I'm going to try a lot of strategies here because honestly, I want to find out if we can find a consistent way to get through him, but I think our current moveset is basically as good as it gets. We've got the Shadow Ball for the Espeon. We've got super effective moves against the 3 Gen 1 starters. We've got Dynamic Punch for the Snorlax. And while Dynamic Punch is a bit of a YOLO strat here, it is the strongest move that we could use against that Pokemon. And we've seen a lot of times in these solo runs that the Snorlax tends to be the one that's kind of a wall that whittles your Pokemon down. So this might just work out, but we might need the rare candies. Let's get into this and find out how it actually goes against Red. So Red attempt number 1, he leads off with the Pikachu. I reckon we'll just go Ice Beam on that Pokemon. It's a 2-hit KO, but we get a miss turn 1. That's perfectly fine as we knock it out. Espeon comes out next. Let's go Shadow Ball here. It's going to be a 2-hitter as it sets up Reflect, but we do knock it out. That is kind of a problem for our Snorlax strat though. We're going to go for Dynamic Punch here. We missed the first one as it goes Amnesia. We hit the second one confusing it, but we did very little damage here. Only what, 74 damage on that first hit. Granted, Reflect is up right now, but Body Slam does massive damage to us. We missed the next Dynamic Punch, but then Reflect fades as it hits itself. And we did pretty decent damage there. It hits itself again. I'll Dynamic Punch, and that does get the KO there. Out comes the Charizard. Let's go for the Thunderbolt since it's the best move against this Pokemon. And we get a 1-hit KO with a crit. Blastoise is out next. We hit Thunderbolt doing about half as it goes Rain Dance. Thunderbolt again gets the victory on that one. Finally, we've got the Venusaur. Ice Beam is going to be a 2-hit KO and we freeze it. Oh, Red. Oh, he goes down on the first attempt. Are you kidding me? No rare candies used at level 57. Mewtwo beats Red on minimum battles. That is utterly ridiculous. Like, we had 2 resets in the entire run. One against Will due to kind of bad luck with a lovely kiss. And yes, we should have put on the Fire Punch. And one against Sabrina because of the fact that we were already paralyzed when we went into the fight. 2 basically user errors that caused resets. All of the optional battles that show there are just from us using that Gyarados to knock out random things that we had to take out as we went through the run. And some of the trainers here in Kanto are not properly programmed into my overlay as minimum battles trainers. But trust me, we went through on the minimum number of battles. Try it yourself. And those 12 resets, outside of the 2 that I mentioned before, were just from routing, just trying to get around spinners without having to fight them. Mewtwo is just completely overpowered. Bright Powder only, I think, affected 1 battle in the entire run, and that was the Bugsy battle. In every other one, it seems like Mewtwo is just too strong for this generation and completely destroyed everything. So with that, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's watched this little 4-part series that I've been doing. Appreciate you guys for hanging around. Sorry that the commentary was not the original gameplay commentary here. It's all post commentary in this one because of those audio issues. That was a lot of fun. Now I have quite a few other ideas coming up here for the rest of this month. I'm going to be putting out as many videos as I can in December because I know lots of people have holidays and I want to make the best content that I can for you guys. I've got a couple other little ideas in the works. We'll play around with those when we get there. But for now, I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody who watches to the ends of the videos. Thank you to the channel members for your continued support. Let's run it up through the very end of 2025 and into 2026, where I think some big things are going to happen. Anyway, I appreciate you guys so much. I will see you in the next one. Later.